Right,
Apologies.
there it is.
It had the little recording sign.
Okay.
Anyway,
Thanks.
the library was not interested in doing it. I'm not sure exactly why. I sent out an email. I just heard back that, you know, they don't want to take this on. So anyway, I feel like we're back to step one with the poet laureate. You know, this was not my baby. This was, now I'm forgetting her name.
Amanda.
I was thinking Olivia for some reason. I have like all these new teachers I'm learning names of. Amanda was really doing it. And Karen Chase was going to be the poet laureate. She chose her, but there was never any process put in place. So I'm not really sure where we want to go.
I had actually, before my life blew up in my face, had reached out to Amanda to find out, you know, what had transpired there, because I think we were all kind of surprised when she showed up at a meeting and said, "I've picked the poet laureate," and we're like, "What?"
Yeah.
Nobody knew what had gone on, because she had said she wanted to work on that project, but she really did. She just went out and picked somebody. So, you know, it's very an awkward situation because there is no process in place. And when I asked her specifically, you know, what was the process she employed, she said, "Well, I went and worked with the library and we asked people to apply, and or I asked people for ideas of names, and nobody wanted to do it but Karen." And so it was kind of like almost like a default type process, which to me, you know, that's not a process. You know, so I don't know what we do, because you know, Amanda had then told Karen that she was going to be it. Jean and I guess Joanne, were you there when we talked to Karen briefly about
Well,
it? 'Cause
I met with Karen after Amanda left and
Mhm.
asked me to kind of take over for
Mhm.
that. So I met with Karen and she was really excited about like going ahead, but then it became a whole issue of, you know, drafting an ordinance or, you know, whatever and
Yeah,
making
yeah,
it
yeah.
official.
Well,
And that's where it just stopped.
well, here's the thing. I mean, clearly the process that was employed there is not a process. And so it's not going to qualify for any kind of points with Sustainable Connecticut, because it's, you know, not within the spirit of what they're looking for. And, you know, I pondered this because, you know, how do you hurt somebody's feelings? You know, say, well, you know, maybe it's simply explaining to her that this is what's happened, but, you know, that we would welcome her to try to do some poetry projects, and we would certainly be supportive of her doing it, but we can't have
What
this
if she
official-
took over, like coming up with a process for the poet laureate?
Perfect,
And she
perfect.
does that. You
That's
know,
a
that takes
genius.
it on.
That's a genius idea, I think. I don't know, but you know,
There
it's-
already is a process, but the pinch point, I think, is, and I did talk to Karen as well and explain to her the hiccup that happened, and she was okay about it. But if she wants to be the poet laureate, she can't be the person who designs the process and the program. So
well, could she put together what her idea of what a program might be and give it to us, and then we could, you know,
But I mean,
take it, or
does she really want to be the poet laureate? Is she just interested in getting poetry, you know, as part of Kent? You know, maybe she would be interested, because I understand what you're saying, Jean. Like you can't make the process and make
Yeah.
yourself the poet
well,
laureate.
and two, I mean, I think, you know, the idea is that to make it a truly a poet laureate, you would have to involve, you know, a panel of assessors, judges, whatever you want to call it, you know, and have, you know, maybe some English faculty from some of the schools, some, you know, published poets. I don't know.
Well, and so that's
But-
what I'm thinking. If she wants to take it on, like I feel like we're not ready for a poet laureate. If no one
No.
wants to do it except for her, like it has to be a you know,
And maybe it's for, because obviously not all of these actions, some are clearly, targeted at larger cities and some are clearly targeted at smaller places, and it's kind of a something for everybody kind of thing. And with a town our size, I mean, and nobody was interested. I think Miranda said 3 people were contacted and only Karen wanted to do it. I mean, at least one of them was very affirmatively a no.
right.
So, I don't know, Miranda, do you have thoughts on this? You're in the teaching world, so.
I don't have a whole lot of, because I don't know, it seems like it's going to be hard to sustain over a number of years. And I don't know that I can commit to putting in
You're breaking up, Miranda.
the effort in.
Hang on one second. Let me.
It almost sounds like we're saying that.
Well, I mean,
she'll be back.
I think that's right, though, like what Miranda was saying. I mean, at this point, it doesn't, if there's one person, it
Doesn't make any
seem
sense.
sustainable. And,
No.
that's the whole purpose, is to have it keep going. And
Yeah,
so that was my thought, was that, if Karen really wants to take this on because she's really interested in poetry and see, getting more people interested in poetry, she had some really good ideas. Like she had this one idea for creating like a place for people at the Welcome Center, especially people passing through Kent, to like leave a poem or, something about the Appalachian Trail or something about being in Kent,
mhm.
which I thought was a really fun idea. But, she could do that. That could be wrapped up into like the arts and promoting the arts rather than, and then going forward, if we get like more interest in poetry and things, then we could maybe do a poet laureate.
Yeah. I
We
think
maybe
that
take a
sounds
look
good.
at, sorry.
I was just gonna say, I think that sounds like a good idea, because, we could, because I don't want to discourage Karen or make her feel, like we reneged on something, because unfortunately, I mean, Jean, you said you talked to her about kind of how this didn't go according to a plan that should have been executed, and she was understanding.
Yes.
Well, that's the part I was probably the most worried about, because I think I agree with Joanne. When I sat down and looked at all of the actions when we first started up, that one was not one that leapt to the front of my mind because of the size of our town. And Amanda really wanted to do it, and she's involved in the arts and theater and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, go for it. But I think it's probably not terribly workable at this point. Given the way, the way it's transpired so far and what we've seen in terms of interest. So I don't know, maybe should we take a vote to just let it go and then encourage?
Yeah, I don't know if we need to take a formal vote on that.
Okay.
But I would say let's table it for now.
Mhm.
And if it comes back up in the future, then
Okay.
we can
And
look at
maybe-
it. But yeah, I think there's some more attainable things we
Mhm.
can accomplish in the meantime. So
And maybe we can all just commit before the next meeting to look at the website under those action items under that subcategory and just see what other towns have done. And maybe that will give us some guidance as to where to go with this.
It does almost, tends to involve the Board of Selectmen passing a
Right, a resolution.
resolution, yeah,
Mhm.
so it's just, then it gets, extremely official. And we need to then therefore have an official process, because part of the resolution would
Right.
be, what is the process? Here's the process we followed. It's going to be the process for the future.
Sure.
And, I actually at one point looked up just, what the state does. And, there are all kinds of resources out on the web for how to select a poet laureate. And it's not what happened here. So, no, it's definitely needs to be rethought. So,
Well, let's look, everybody can look at the vibrant and creative cultural ecosystems, which is the 4, before our next meeting, and maybe come up with some other ideas. Okay, so item 7, do we have anything else about the youth arts program action and the equity toolkit?
So with the equity toolkit, I don't. The youth arts, so I am involved with creating a foundation for KCS, and we're going forward. We actually, we have a lawyer that's doing it, and it's for enrichment at KCS. So I've told them, about this sustainability action, which I think can be really kind of enmeshed in this.
Mhm.
Because this is a nonprofit foundation, like for Kent, basically. So it's, so I feel like that's kind of, with the round table, I was kind of ready to go. And then this came up that, all right, we're ready to go with this foundation. We just met yesterday and, had this whole meeting with the lawyer, like we're doing it right now. So I kind of wanted to wait for that before starting to get people together for a roundtable. The thing I would ask you guys, though, is to give me names of who you think should be included in this roundtable, whether it's, like individual people, or whether it's like you should include the Kent Arts Association, just so I can broaden what I'm thinking of.
Sure. Now, do you think this is something that makes sense, that maybe we can all kind of brainstorm about, who we think should be involved, and maybe bring a list with us to the next meeting?
Yeah. No, I really appreciate that.
Unless you think we need to get going before that, but that might be.
It would be nice to do it before then, because like I said, now that this foundation is, I was kind of waiting to see where this was going, but it's like we are doing it, and it's, in conjunction with the superintendent, and we have backing, we have funds for it, so it's like it's definitely going. And yeah, so now I feel like, all right, now we can put together a roundtable, and I think having this foundation as part of that roundtable would be really important, because it's going to be raising money for youth arts in Kent, and basically doing a whole fundraising for what I would like to do with youth in Kent and the school.
What
Cool.
what does the action item category say about who should be at this roundtable? As far as I'm just trying to lean towards stakeholder groups versus like we want this person and that person. We want to stay away from that, because then it's
Exactly.
not.
But I mean, like, if you give me individuals like this group, you should get in touch with this person, would be really helpful. Not that this person should definitely come,
but more of a representation of a particular group.
Right. So if you say, like I'm thinking the museum, I would love to have the Sloan Museum. So I know the guy there, Andrew, so I can get in touch with him and say, can you have somebody come? But
I have a question, because I think I'm confused about where we are with this, because it's like this roundtable that you're contemplating is at the higher level, like more administrative, whereas like the equity toolkit is very focused on involving the group youth that you want to be
I
serving.
think it's everybody.
Is it everybody? So you want?
Yeah, because I mean, I think it can also be people who can partner with it.
Yeah, I mean, but how big of a roundtable are you looking at? Because it could become an auditorium full very quickly.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not thinking, I'm thinking like 10 people.
Yeah, because, in terms of the groups, I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, well, you need to have, for Kent Center School, you would want to have, primary students, you'd want to have intermediate students, you'd want to have middle school students involved in it. And, I don't know if they have like a little student council kind of thing, or, my son's elementary school in Pennsylvania did that. It was very cute, but, they would have, student representatives from each grade, but then, there were parents who had to help. And
Right. Well, we're not doing this at like student council level. It's really like what works for the town.
Mhm.
And, so it involves parents as well. And, even parents of like high school
Yeah,
kids.
no, I'm just concerned because I looked at the equity toolkits and the arts programs that were put together. I think it was for Old Saybrook and
Mhm.
Saybrook. And they were doing a summer program for like think middle school and high school students. And they actually did elaborate surveys of the students to see what they wanted. Interesting things came out, like they didn't want a 12-week thing. They wanted drop-in things because they all worked and stuff like that, or had transportation issues and what was an impediment. It was fascinating what came out of it, why kids weren't participating and what they could do to help. And I kind of keep thinking, well, that's kind of the point of the equity toolkit, is to take the target audience, kids.
But that's also assuming, see, that to me gets away from the equity toolkit, because it's like, well, we have this, which we think you should like. Why don't you like it?
No,
I
they
mean,
didn't have
some-
anything at all. They
Like
were
you said, they were doing a summer program.
they wanted to have,
But-
kids wanted summer arts, but in the past they'd had summer arts, but kids weren't participating. Well, why?
Exactly. So, but this is going to be a little broader than that. It's like, okay, if we want to include arts in, in the school, in the town, I mean, there's reasons for including arts. It has to do with, bringing more people into town, more interest in the school, or in the town itself, more offerings for people. It's finding out what people would like. And like you said, I mean, it can include kids, it can include parents. I don't think it's just going to be a survey of, children saying, what do you guys want to do?
And it couldn't be because they're too young. But, it's more like we do have to focus though on who are we trying to serve? Because we're not trying to serve the Sloan Museum, and I'm sure they would have valuable input, but they're not the target audience.
No, but that's the whole thing, is like, you want stakeholders, they're in the community, and maybe they have something to offer. So that's the whole thing with the equity toolkit is, not, including everybody, see what
Right.
people have to offer, see, what comes out of it. We don't know the results
Right. I just
of
worry
what's going to happen.
what I know after talking to all of them. I mean, the equity people at Sustainable Connecticut, what they don't want is for a bunch of people to say, oh, we're here the arts community, and we're going to tell you guys what you want. And not, including the people who are actually going to be the participants in the program. And I just want to make sure we have a really good way to get, probably in this case, more the parents involved, and saying, well, what would you, the families who are going to participate in the youth arts program, like to have too?
Well, I think for that could be a survey. That doesn't need to be a roundtable. I mean, a roundtable needs to be a discussion. It needs to be a discussion between a lot of people with different ideas. And, it needs to be surprising. You don't know what's going to come out of it, and you have to make that opening for either relationships or partnerships that maybe weren't going to happen to happen. So that's why, I mean, I don't see just limiting it too much. I do think size is an issue. It can't be too many people, but.
Joanne, could you maybe flesh out, based on sort of your vision and how it relates back to these sustainable CD action items, what not necessarily a mission statement, but sort of what the plan is for the roundtable.
Okay. Yeah.
And then from that, an estimation of how many people.
Because I think
And
I'm misunderstanding what the purpose of the roundtable is, and I think maybe I'm talking in a different direction. So Joanne,
yeah, and I think
what is
maybe
the purpose
getting,
of the roundtable?
yeah, so why don't,
And
Why
I'll
don't-
also talk to Sustainable CT
yeah,
about the equity part of it too, to make sure that I'm on the right track.
I
I was
think
gonna
that's
say
great.
that maybe, if, maybe we bring in, what was her name?
Elizabeth McGee.
Elizabeth,
Yeah.
to the next meeting, if she can make it. I think that would be worthwhile, so that,
Mhm. Yeah.
For sure.
And even if she can't come to the meeting, I'll try to talk to her before the next meeting
and Joanne, if you think that, yeah, if you think we need to meet, before our next scheduled meeting, if you want to get some groups and names and ideas together, and if you have a better idea, if you have things more fleshed out with the roundtable, we can certainly try to schedule something before
okay. Yeah.
October.
All right. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, and maybe talking, did you say Elizabeth? I think I just-
Elizabeth.
Mhm.
Okay. Maybe talking with her will also help flesh out a skeleton or outline of what
Yeah.
the roundtable is going to accomplish and the size, just like the basic bone stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then we can, instead of trying to, often reverse engineering something is a good thing, but I think in this case, we have to go from A to B to C to D.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that'll
no,
give us some more, it'll help us all to bring the stakeholder groups that need to be at this roundtable together.
sounds good.
So, number 8 is discuss the correspondence from Julie Chang regarding artist incubator workspace. She had emailed, basically asking if we had space in town. Hang on, I'm gonna try to pull up her email. I was hoping maybe she would come to this one, but,
So I've been in touch with her.
uh-huh.
You can continue if you have more to say, but
Yeah, I was just gonna say, she says in her email, I wanted to ask about arts initiative that another Kent artist and I just thought about. They're talking about renting studio space. They both are from Kent. She's asking, is there a space of funds where we could do something like that here? Maybe someone has an unused garage. Or a space in town that can be used for a nominal fee. Does the sustainability initiative have any funds or means to subsidize an artist incubator workspace in Kent? That's basically the gist of it.
so
I would say that, our group, does not
No.
have any funds, but
no funds. Yeah. I can't remember exactly what I emailed her, but it's basically that. But I did make an appointment to talk to her. We were supposed to meet this week, and then my mother-in-law I had to drive her to a doctor's appointment. She's like having all these health issues. But so we're gonna meet Monday, this coming Monday. And I'll just, listen, see what she's interested in doing, see if she's interested in getting involved with, any of our action items. I
okay.
did send her the action item. I can't, the one that would would include that, and so she could read through it, and she was like, oh yeah, this sounds great. So I'm hoping, she doesn't seem to have a ton of time. It was hard to schedule something where we can both meet. So, but I'm hoping if she's interested, she'd want to get involved with doing.
Is there any such space like that in town, or do most, I know there's a lot of artists here, do they just tend to have their own private thing?
And she's talking about she said about Torrington, right? There's a big
Mhm. Yeah.
artist.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the old Yukon campus, just before you get into Torrington, there's a sort of
Yeah,
random rural road on the left. I think the
right,
Yukon sign
right.
has long disappeared, but it's an amazing space.
Right. And so, I mean, I think that's a really interesting idea for
Is
here.
there-
If
Isn't there an art space like that in Bantam, kind of as you're just driving into the middle of Bantam? There's there's an old brick building and it looks
know
like
what
it's, I
that
don't know if you have to
is.
rent it yourself or, if there are just spaces available for artists to rent on their own. I don't know.
That's what I kind of get is like it's less of a collective, and then that one's more of just, yeah, you can rent it out if you have a business in the arts, or you're making t-shirts and you want to sell them. It
But
seems
just,
more
yeah.
like a commercial kind of thing.
Mhm.
The one in Torrington, I think, is much more of a collective of artists working together. There's also, isn't there Wasaic? There's a big artist.
Yep.
Can't remember what it's
Mhm.
called.
At the mill.
Mhm.
It's at
It
that
sounds
old
like there's a
mill.
lot of them around then. You just have to drive to them. I don't know.
So the one in Torrington is called 5 Point Center for Visual Arts.
Yeah.
Joanne, do you have a sense of
Yeah.
the level of demand for such a thing in Kent?
No, I don't. So
I
that's
never-
why I'm gonna talk to Julie and see like, what she says.
I never advanced beyond the stick figure, so I have no sense of any of it, but it's obviously she's interested. I think when I talked to her once upon a time, I think her husband might be an artist, or maybe I'm confusing her with somebody else, but
So
The
something,
one in Wasaic is called the Wasaic Project.
Mhm. I mean, I'm not seeing Kent having any of these big ones, but even if it was a handful of people that got together and, just a place for artists to gather. I mean, I know like life drawing is really missing around here because I love to do life drawing and I can't find any place to do that. Whereas some place like that, you could actually do, like life drawing classes for people, and working artists a lot of times want to come and do that.
I have a
No,
question.
Bill.
The Kent, the art, what is it called? I'm just drawing a blank.
Art
On the corner,
Association.
the Art Association, don't they have space upstairs? Could that be? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then I'm wondering, and maybe you can explain the difference to me because I don't know about these things, is what's the difference between, getting something here in Kent or just taking and having that group of artists, assuming the price is right, rent one of those little spaces in Bantam or because that's not that far of a drive. So is that, because even if you had a space here, is the idea that somebody would own it or would they just rent it or what?
Well,
yeah, I think they were looking for something. I think they just wanted something a little more local.
right.
And I think what I think would be desirable from myself, who maybe doesn't have a lot of experience in different, art mediums, would be more of like a maker space that has equipment already.
Right.
Like maybe there's wood shop equipment or that someone could go and use equipment. Because then, if it's just a space to go for artists that are already, well established, then I don't know how much.
Right. I was going to say, yeah, if it's just established artists who need a space, then they just need to rent a space. If she's really talking about like a collaborative where like, yeah, I love that idea of like a maker space or holding, having classes, but it brings people in. I think that's actually a really good thing for the town too.
Yeah, I know. I have my sister-in-law who lives in Minneapolis as part of women's workshop, woodworking workshop, but it's an organization that you can go and just do that kind of stuff. And so that
Jean, the grounds over there by the Sloan Museum, and then there's all of those machinery barns and whatnot. I mean, what's the story of that space? Is that completely private, or is there any opportunity to rent space there? Or what is the status of that whole area? Because it seems like it would be a great place. I don't know.
That's this, it's a state museum.
Yeah,
Never mind.
it's all state.
Although a lot of
However,
museums do
how-
have stuff in their basement, the Warhol in Pittsburgh has this whole basement where they teach people to screen print and they have classes, and I don't know that it's like.
Well,
space
the thing is that the guy who's running the museum now, Andrew, is really young. His wife is an artist. She's a ceramicist. He's not, but he's really open-minded. So I think there are opportunities
Yeah.
maybe there. Even if it is a state-run museum, he seems really like he wants to bring it up to the 21st century. which-
Because it seems so underutilized,
Mhm.
and I just thought, well, what a perfect place, because it's got that museum there and stuff. I know that a lot of museums run art programs for youth, for adults, for everything in between,
Mhm.
doing different things. That's different because those are programs run by the museum, but they might have some space and they might say, well, we can enhance our coffers here at the museum by renting out some space that
Mhm.
is not being used. And isn't it great that we can support the arts? We're an art museum. So,
Well,
I'm
they're
not-
kind of an art museum and kind of a historic
Yeah.
museum. I mean, the
Right.
art part is a little weak.
yeah. Well, you could strengthen it.
Well, I mean, there is, the Eric Sloan, there's
Yeah.
tons. I was there just a couple of months ago, and it's honestly an amazing place.
Yeah, it is. It is. And the tools are amazing.
Yeah, everything.
Um,
There's a lot of painting and,
Mhm.
Eric Sloan art.
Yeah.
When you brought up the woodworking part, it just kind of hit me, and I thought, well, maybe something could be worked out over there, because that would make it a more vibrant place. It seems kind of, every time I drive by there, I think, well, what goes on over there? Other than the
You should
camp.
drive in. It's amazing. It
Mhm.
really is
Yeah.
lovely.
But it's just there's never seems to be anyone around, and it just seems a pity.
He was actually trying to get the farmers market to go over there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he said he had suggested that they'd be open to having the farmers market there, just to try to get more people in and
Mhm.
It kind of makes sense. It's cute with the antique machinery and everything else. And then, it's just trying to make it, not such a passive place, some activities,
Yeah.
some livelihood.
Mhm.
I think this
Um,
topic
okay.
is going to be a longer term topic
Mhm.
because it would require, funding and a physical space, but
Mhm.
it's worth,
Explore.
learn more and have more conversation with Julie.
Yeah, so Joanne, I maybe just connect with Julie and see what her thoughts are, and we can discuss at the next
I
meeting.
can report back. Yeah.
Okay, so item number 9, draft Kent Housing Plan, and action 11, healthy, efficient, and diverse housing. I mean, this seems kind of like a, easy, low-hanging fruit here, as they say.
Well, the plan's
Um,
final, right? At this
I'm
point.
sorry,
The plan has been finalized. The public.
has it been
comment-
finalized?
Well, the public comment period is over. Dean, do you know what the status of the passage or the?
Yeah,
accept-
it's in final draft form, and the Board of Selectmen hopefully will take action on it tomorrow night to approve it so that we can submit it to OPM and start sort of the next process of how are we going to implement this.
This is one I do know quite a bit about. This will definitely get approved by Sustainable Connecticut, because the state got the idea of making the towns all do this from the Sustainable Connecticut action. They thought it was a brilliant idea, and then so they said, okay, all of you towns are going to do this, whether you're in Sustainable Connecticut or not. So once that plan is finalized, we'll be able to submit that and definitely get points for that. That's just not even a point of dispute, so.
So maybe we take a look next meeting and see what's happened
Mhm.
with it. I'm not sure, we may be able to submit some of the draft plan as well.
Well, the next.
It doesn't really matter because
The next cycle isn't for.
yeah, it doesn't matter. So we might as well just wait. So we can,
I can report on it at the next meeting.
yeah.
Because
Um,
there's 2 cycles a year and we just had one in August, so
Right.
we don't have to worry about it.
So I guess that brings us down to any discussion on any action anybody's been able to take. And I will just say honestly, I have not done much since the last meeting, this summer and getting going in school again. But hopefully can get back into it here as we get into the swing of the schedule.
I've got nothing else to report. I'm the same situation.
Florida's hot. That's where I spent my entire summer. So
Oh.
so I'm the biggest frequent flyer down there now.
Mm. All right, Jean, unless you have anything else.
I don't, I was just sort of looking at, since we don't have anything for updates, we can just sort of review our homework so we can have a productive meeting in October to take advantage of, maybe we're moving into, there is no quiet season. Who are we kidding, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, I think I
Getting
just
back
need
into
to
battle
kind of
with-
review everything, go back into the sustainable CT, read through everything. And yeah, maybe Joanne, if you think that we need to meet sooner than later about the roundtable and all that, let us know and we'll try to get a meeting scheduled with Elizabeth.
Okay.
And Miranda, did you say you were gonna invite Wendy Murphy? Somebody was
No,
gonna,
I was going to invite Wendy Murphy. Oh,
Okay.
so our next meeting is October 12th, is that right?
Yep.
Okay.
And I'll try to find out a little more about, I'll look into what the status is of the clean energy program at this point. And see.
Is there a possibility they're going to postpone it, or?
I'm sorry, hold on one second.
I said, is there some possibility they're going to postpone it, or is that?
Hold on, I think she just needs a minute.
Sorry, there's somebody going right by the window with a lawnmower. I cannot
Oh.
not hear anything. What did you say, Leanna?
Well, you said that you were checking into the status of the October 15th energy program. Is there some question that it might not happen?
No,
or-
I don't think so. It's been a while, so I just want to see where it's at. If there's been any changes to like venue or anything like that. And see, it looks like the Conservation Commission meeting was canceled for tonight, so I won't be able to attend that, but I will keep an eye out. If they reschedule a meeting, I'll try to attend the next conservation meeting.
Is this a program that the Conservation Committee is put together, or have they invited people to come in and they're just hosting?
I think they're kind of sponsoring it, but really Wendy was kind of an offshoot of the Conservation Committee. But I believe they're listed as a sponsor.
Okay, kind of like what we
Yes.
did with our thing.
yeah, so it's not quite the conservation, it's sort of almost like a citizen action group that's been organizing this and organizing sort of a movement about these programs. And one of the primary genesis is the PACE program, which is the
Right. The CPACE or whatever it's called.
That's an action.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's the thing, is that it is an action. And there's already a business in town that
Right.
that has it, that design company.
yeah, Crew Design. the
Yeah.
yellow barn over on Maple
Right,
Street.
right. Exactly. But we don't get credit for them having it because they didn't do it. Like it has to be a town program, is from what I
Right.
can understand with CPACE.
Right.
I dove into it a little bit. I wasn't all that clear about it, but if this group, this energy group is, I mean, that would be great because, you know, have other people kind of doing the legwork and then, yeah, we would get credit for it.
So that's the, I believe, the primary vendor, I guess you could call it. And it's Connecticut Green Bank. It's
Mhm.
one and the same pretty much. And then they're gonna have different vendors, like they're gonna have a couple of solar companies, a couple of the different green energy companies that provide the services so that people can ask them direct questions about how do I, they might invite Eversource to talk about they have a whole new energy audit program. And they would be able to answer questions, but there's going to be, I guess, in the auditorium, there'll be a couple of speakers, and then they're going to have tables with these vendors at them for the public.
And this, I was gonna say, this is all open to the public then?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's for the public.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Does the
Okay,
school have
well-
anything to do with it other than just providing the auditorium? Are they participating as well, or they're just supplying a meeting space for it?
I don't know.
What was the question?
Is the Kent, because the program's at the Kent School Auditorium, is the school actually participating in some capacity, or are they just supplying a space?
I mean, I think mostly supplying a space. A couple of Kent School faculty has sat in on some of the meetings and kind of, offered their expertise on that. But I think, just providing a space
Mhm.
is the main thing.
Also one thing, I don't know if we have, this is like completely unimportant, but, and I'm happy to do it.
And we do want to stay on the agenda because it's a special meeting, just saying that out loud.
Oh, okay. I just have about the link to the meeting. Can I talk about that?
Like the Zoom link?
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Can we send out like an invitation? Because what happened is the Zoom link was, I think, in a PDF where I couldn't even like copy and paste it.
Oh, okay.
I thought
Yeah,
I
I'll
had,
include it in the body of the email next time.
yeah, and
Yeah,
I thought I had put it in, I thought I had invited, oh, of course, now my computer just froze up. In a meeting invite to everybody. Hold on, let me do that.
right. That's what.
Yeah, everybody was invited
Okay.
to the monthly, it's like a recurring monthly meeting.
Through what? It was through Zoom that you did the invite or through?
No, it was I did it through Google Calendar.
Calendar. Okay, because usually I get those and then it goes right on my calendar and I have the link. Like today I had to like go write down the link and then type it in.
Oh,
I just pulled up the agenda and I was able to just click on it in the agenda itself.
Yeah, for some reason, when I did that, it wouldn't let
Hmm.
me do it.
So,
It usually
Joanne, can you
can.
just look at your Google Calendar? Oh,
Yeah.
and you know what? There's an X next to your Google Calendar and next to your invite. That's interesting.
Yeah,
Let me, you're joewasti@gmail.com.
yeah.
WASTI.
Yeah, no, because it's not on my calendar. That's what I thought we were doing in the past, was just, calendar invites.
Yeah,
We did it like at the beginning and it was like a recurring thing and we clicked yes to be included on it or something. Maybe you never
right.
clicked yes.
well,
know
Jean, maybe you can
why-
send Joanne another invite and then.
I was gonna say, it would either say no or yes, but it wouldn't have an X. It's weird.
Well, so the little Google Calendar icon
Uh-huh,
has an X next to it. I
yeah.
don't know why
I
it
don't know.
would.
All right, well, it's not.
So
a-
I
it's
just,
not a
I
huge deal.
deleted you and re-added you. So
Okay.
you should, like, it should be there right now.
Let's see. Oh, no. All right, well, I'll figure it out. If you guys are getting it, then it's something to do with me personally. I thought it just wasn't being sent out as a calendar invite, so I'm just gonna ask.
Yeah,
them.
unfortunately, I think it might be on your end.
Yeah, okay, then I'll work on that.
Do you have another email that you use that goes into?
Just my work one, but I don't use that for this.
Okay,
Yeah, it's Joe Wasty, JOWASTI @gmail.
yeah,
All right,
Yeah.
I'll try to figure it out then. Let's see what the issue.
okay, maybe check your settings in your Google Calendar.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the only thing I
Okay.
can think of.
All right.
And it's
Okay,
always the same Zoom link. It's a recurring, so
Right.
it's always the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, then I think that we can end the meeting. So yeah, we're gonna adjourn the meeting. It is 10:59. So we'll,
Good
all
timing.
right. All right, thank you.
Thank you to everyone.
Bye.
Bye.